Oh,
Oh, now we can see so much more of everyone's
there it
screen.
is. The new layout. We've got Sentinel Training HQ in the house. Taylor Self, Bryson DelMonte. Gentlemen, what's happening? How we doing this fine? What is January, huh?
January, and it is a Thursday. We're supposed to get a crazy snowstorm here in North Carolina.
Yeah, everyone's doomsday.
Yeah, I'm just north of you guys, so we're like right on the edge about whether or not it's going to happen here.
And
We're
you're in
saying
Virginia
ice
Beach?
now. Yeah, I'm in Virginia Beach.
My mom's in Northern Virginia, and apparently they're saying heavy snow too, or maybe they were.
Mhm. I think it's still a go for Northern Virginia.
Crazy.
It's wild how much people freak out. I remember I was living in Charlotte and I didn't realize that a storm was coming, and I was working like 3 or 4 jobs, and it was like midnight and I had to go to Walmart to go grocery shopping on like a random night.
Yeah.
And I walk in and there's lines at every register. There's no milk. There's
No
no
bread.
bread. There's
Yeah.
no water. I'm like, what is happening?
No salt.
Like nothing.
I went to Home Depot yesterday, and this guy was loading 5 generators into his SUV. I was like, well, dude, what are you doing? Are you just really buying
Like resell them?
Resell them? Yeah, 100%.
For double the cost.
Yeah, it was wild. And you know what?
Entrepreneurship right there.
He had a CrossFit Games pullover on.
No
and when
way.
I walked in, when I walked in, I walked right by him, and we made eye contact because I noticed his CrossFit Games pullover, and it was this weird eye contact where it was just really weird.
And then you realized it was James Sprague.
Yeah, Sprague.
Sprague.
James Sprague.
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 Oh man. Well, we're not talking about doomsday prep. We're saving that for a later show, actually. We want to talk open, actually. We are what is it now? We're officially we're just about a month away. Signups just went live. So I'm curious to know just your guys' approach to the open with your programming. Do you guys do any specific open prep? What's your thoughts on prepping for the open and trying to do with Sentinel open specific work to get everybody ready to rock and roll?
Do you want to start or me?
Yeah, I'll kick it off a little bit. Earlier you were saying, and I agree with this, if you've been doing CrossFit all year long, you've been preparing for the open. That being said, I do think that there are a lot of things that maybe some gyms, maybe some people, and maybe some programs miss out on in terms of being ready for the open. For example, a movement like a shuttle run or a wall walk, for example. And maybe let's start with a shuttle run. So in maybe the spring and the summer, it's really nice. You can go outside. I prefer to not rely on shuttle runs in terms of your running conditioning when you're adding that in as a monostructural element, unless it's like, hey, let's go to a football field and do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 yard shuttle runs as a workout. That's an awesome workout, but you're also never going to do shuttle runs like that in the open. You're going to do, if they program them, the 25 down, 25 back, touch your hand behind the line shuttle run. I think if you haven't practiced those or done them all year long and they show up in the open, even if you've been running, you might still be at a disadvantage to someone who's done them a couple times, 2 or 3 times. Same thing with a wall walk. I think if you've been handstand walking or doing a lot of handstand push-ups or even bear crawls, which we program on our classic track, if you haven't done them and they show up, it's kind of like, oh man, you're kicking yourself a little bit. Or if you're an affiliate program, you haven't programmed wall walks in a long time, or thrusters with a barbell. I just think there are a handful of movements that it's safe to say. And interestingly, there are websites and people who have made these comprehensive lists of movement by times it has appeared in the open.
I
am not a fan. Yeah,
right.
I'm not a fan of just doing those movements leading into the open, but I do think if you're not at least aware of them, and especially in like a skill sense, like the toes to bar or the muscle up or things like that, not practicing them, then potentially you're at a disadvantage. I am not a fan of, okay, all we're going to do for these next 6 weeks are toes to bar, burpees over the dumbbell snatches, rowing, double unders, wall walks, and chest to bar pull-ups and thrusters.
Right.
Not a fan of that.
Like trying to literally implement
Right.
replicate the exact workouts that are likely going to be in.
Yeah,
right?
either the exact workouts or just the 20 movements that have always shown up. Not a fan of that. I think the thing that we like to do most is really get creative with movement variations. So variations of a deadlift or variations of a thruster or variations of a burpee, so that you can still get good at that particular movement pattern without doing the same bland one every single time. But I think that's exactly what CrossFit is. So that's a pretty long-winded way of saying that when we get closer to the open, we do narrow in a little bit. Another example would be we probably lift under fatigue a little more, like after a workout.
Okay.
I typically prefer most people, if we're going to lift and do a workout, or even on our competitor track, to go in and warm up and lift first when you're fresh, especially if strength is something that is the focus. You know, why do it? Why debase yourself prior to, if that's the focus? But I think leading into the open, typically when there is a heavy lift, or in quarterfinals a heavy lift, typically it's been under fatigue. Maybe the two exceptions to that were the 4-rep max front squat and the other total. But otherwise, yeah, this is a great one. Warm up. Yeah, Peter doesn't warm up. He takes a hot shower. That's it.
Yeah.
My least favorite part right there is the warm up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once I get past that, everything it's not the workout that I don't want to do. It's the warm up.
Yeah, I think like you already mentioned, it's like if you're doing CrossFit all year long, it should be preparing you for the open. There shouldn't be anything too different or too specific, but starting to work on some of the skills or some of the different movements that you know are going to show up a little bit more often. Do you guys add any former open workouts?
We do.
To your program, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the most recent two that we programmed are, is it 12.6 or 1, the 7 minutes of burpees? We programmed that for classic maybe in a week, and then 13.4, which was another 7-minute AMRAP, and that was on a different week of ascending reps of toes to bar and clean and jerks. And then
that one's a great workout. That's one of my favorites, I think.
I do like that workout.
What else?
The second one, not the 7 minutes.
Not the
burpees, not that one.
What
You did
I'd be curious to know, do you guys look at scores of your athletes? I would assume you do, right?
Of our individuals, we look at scores a lot. Of our people on the general track, we don't look at a ton of. Maybe I do sometimes.
I would say we're generally aware of like some crazy, like if there's good scores on the leaderboard and stuff and Strivey, we definitely know of it because people are talking about it in the community chat all the time.
Yeah.
What did the numbers look like with the 7 minutes of burpees?
They haven't been completed
That's
yet. So
coming up.
one's in like
that's
2 weeks
okay,
and the
okay.
other's in 4 weeks. Yeah. Or 3
That
weeks.
workout has been brought up for me personally on calls like so often lately. It's weird. I don't know what it is.
I don't think I've ever programmed that one on Sentinel. Interestingly, the 7 minutes burpee. We do burpees a lot, but just not that specific one.
And what's the target jump? There's a specific target.
6 inch.
6 inch.
6 inches
Yeah,
above your
6
waist.
inch.
Okay.
So a lot of people did the workout to rings, I believe.
Yeah.
And Scott Panchik, I think, had the score to be, it was like 161 or
Oh my
163
gosh.
maybe.
That's so many.
161 or 163, I want to say. Yeah, a lot.
It's so funny now just how evolved everybody is and how much better understanding there is on pacing, to where I think if that workout showed up again, the ability to like do, 18 a minute or 20 a minute, like 100 was such a good score, like not such a good score, but that was kind of the number back then. And you look at it now and it's like 100 should be pretty reasonable for anybody above, kind of above average.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy that I was doing it with, he did like 32 in the first minute and didn't even break 100. So you can see how well you did the rest of the way. But
yeah, I feel like
anyways.
a lot of the open scores, the best scores still hold up pretty well. But the people who are like just below that, there's a lot more people just below the best scores now that are a lot closer.
The center of the bell curve shifts probably forward, I think, a lot.
Right.
But when you're talking about Scott Panchik, I bet he's and hey, this is a perfect example of Nick Matthew trying to beat the world record Randy on the CrossFit Live. I mean, I knew when they posted that, I was like, there's no way he's beating Dan Bailey. I'm sorry. It was just
what was Dan Bailey's time? Or is
I think he finished it in like 2:12 before he ran across the finish line at regionals.
Yeah.
Unbroken.
And that was moving
That
through,
includes
right?
moving,
Right?
with
Like
moving.
transitions. Yep.
But just watching Dan Bailey do it, you can't be more efficient. And his arms his arms are so big. A 75-pound snatch for a guy with that many reps is just grip and arms. And I don't know.
And on a workout like that, where you
Yeah.
just have to black out, there's a big difference between just waking up on a Saturday morning, hanging out with people at the gym, and then starting Randy with a camera in your face versus being at
qualifying for the games and being Dan Bailey.
CrossFit games.
Like a whole audience there. What was Nick's time?
I don't know. He broke it at 50, and I was like, all right, no chance. Dan Bailey ripped it unbroken. I want to say Dan was.
Oh, he broke at 50?
Yeah, he broke it up
Okay.
at 50. Yeah. So, and no offense, Nick, but I turned it off at that moment.
Once you broke, you set it down. You're like, it's over.
Yeah, I was like, I can't watch this anymore.
25 more reps.
Come on. Yeah.
Do you guys, with your community with Sentinel, are you guys doing anything for the Open? Are you pushing people to sign up for the Open? Well, I would assume that you guys that's going to be your workout of the day on the Fridays there. What's your approach there?
Yeah, so we program the Open on Fridays for our classic track, and then we program it on Saturdays for the compete track. And we are definitely pushing people to sign up. I think we'll have a really, at least a slight majority of our subscribers will sign up. I would like to think a large majority.
And we're also pretty, even just year round, we're pretty vocal about why, hey, this is structured around the Open. Like everything we do, all the cycles we do, and when we start to get more varied leading into it, all of it is based around when the Open is.
Right.
And that's what this is for. So we're pretty vocal about that all year. And we're always telling people like, hey, this is how we test ourselves every year. Yeah, we use it as our benchmark.
I wouldn't say we have like a true periodization, but we don't want people to be as far from kind of their best shape around the Open, if that makes sense. I mean, again, if you're doing CrossFit year round, you should be fit year round. But there are just some slight things I think we do a little bit differently. And I think, and that goes for affiliates too. If you're doing CrossFit, and the key about CrossFit is it's purposefully varied. I think there are a lot of people who program in an affiliate in a general sense and just kind of get too hung up on varied for the sake of variance and random for the sake of variance. And I think there's some people who could do, or maybe some gyms or just programs that could do a better job of being purposeful with your variance.
So give me an example of that. Can you tell me a little bit more specifically how you guys are purposeful with your variance?
Yeah. So one thing that I think that helps a lot is Bryson and I program together. So inherent biases that I would have, he's very aware of, and maybe I wouldn't have as great of a self-awareness of, whereas inherent biases that he has, I'm very aware of. And I think thankfully for both of us, kind of his greater weaknesses as an athlete and mine are complete opposites. And so his greater weaknesses are my strengths and my greater weaknesses are his strengths. Whereas, affiliate owners that maybe don't have a second set of eyes can get caught in the trap of doing kind of the same formats or the same movement patterns or even the same movement combinations after another. When we program, here's an example. One of my I love the combination of farmer's carry and wall walks, or farmer's carry and handstand push-ups. And so when I'm looking at kind of a previous month and I'm like, ooh, they haven't done farmer's carry in a month, let's do it. Oh, they can do wall walks too. And Bryson's like, they always do that. I'm like, okay, I can't do that. So maybe it's dumbbell step-ups and wall walks this time instead of a farmer's carry, for example. Another would be purposeful variance. Always, like gyms that do heavy days, and this includes main site too, they tend to do the heavy day very similarly in terms of format. 5-5-3-3, 1-1-1-1-1. And that's awesome. And it is great. And if the stimulus is max effort type of a lift, for sure. But I think a lot of people who program heavy days like that do a heavy day in that format really frequently rather than getting a little more creative. I think you can get a really good stimulus out of supersetting to opposing movement patterns on a heavy day, like a Linda style heavy day. Maybe it's just deadlift bench press or deadlift strict press, or power clean bench and things like that. So just looking for ways to be creative with staples. The thruster pull combination as another example, or doing thrusters and wall balls together in the same week or back to back. I'm not a big fan of that. It's like the same movement pattern.
Right.
What else, Bryson? Any?
Well, I was going to say, you're talking about people using variance in that way, but there's also the people who don't vary enough,
right.
And everyone wants to do a snatch cycle before the open starts, and you're snatching once or twice a week, and the open comes around, there's no snatches, and you just have the 1 up to 10 down to 1 deadlifts and bar facing burpees. It's like, I haven't done a deadlift
right
in like a strength portion or like in a workout in months,
or it's a dumbbell snatch,
right? Yeah. So there, I think leading into the open, being really creative with lifting and relying on transfer of skill is something that Taylor talks about a lot. And using that transfer of skill to be like, hey, I had my time for doing my snatch cycle or whatever before. Now I can do it in workouts sometimes. I'm still going to snatch, and I'll still do, heavy snatch sessions, but it's not going to be every week. I trust my snatching ability. I did all the practice I needed to do on that, and I'll still touch on it here and there. And when I do my clean heavy days, there's going to be some transfer of skill there. When I do my deadlifts or even my strict press, all that stuff is going to help my snatch anyway. And yeah, you also might get lucky. It might be the 23.3, like the Boz heavy snatch workout.
With the
you might luck out, and it might be a heavy snatch and workout, and you nail it. But you also don't want to think, oh, I only did well that year. I only did better this year because I got lucky and I worked on my snatch for 5 weeks before the open.
Yeah.
And you want to know that, hey, I did better this year because I was actually fitter, not because I guessed correctly and got lucky.
Maybe another example is, I would say, as we get closer, so 2 months out of the open, we're probably as varied as we could possibly be with our strength and skill work, while narrowing in a bit with some of our workouts. So like outside of the open, or maybe in the summer and the spring, we're not doing a ton of open repeats.
Yep.
And we would probably be doing repeats of like, hey, we're going to test a 5K, or we're going to test, the CrossFit total, or we're going to test, things that maybe wouldn't show up, a swim workout, and set benchmarks there. Whereas during the open, like we said, we'll maybe do an open workout every 10 days or 2 weeks, and it's, 7 minutes of burpees. We'll make sure maybe we're doing burpees at least once every 2 weeks or once every 10 days. We're touching wall walks, things like that. So I think we don't get caught up in cycles close to the open. I think that's a really bad idea. But also we do pay attention to the movements that we know will come up. And because the reality now is, with a 3-week open and with the way it's been programmed since 2021 or 2 with the 3 weeks.
Because week 3 had.
Did they freeze?
I think so. All right, we'll wait for these guys to come back on. Kristin,
are we there?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you're back. You guys froze for a second.
Where did you lose me?
Just when you guys anxiously awaiting what week 3 had in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bryson said week 3 had, and then
yeah.
We were just saying, the reality is, with the 3-week open, it's not quite as varied as it was with a 5-week open. So there's some things you do know that are going to come out.
And with the season structure, like they have quarterfinals and now in affiliate semifinals to kind of rely on separating the people they need to separate. So there's also things you can just expect out of the open, like Taylor's saying, a little bit more, even because of quarterfinals and stuff.
So I'm curious to know, you made mention that for Sentinel, you guys program on Fridays for the general track, Saturdays for your competitive athletes. What's the difference there? Why do you go with Friday for one, Saturday for the other?
I found for myself and other athletes that I know, if you're taking the open seriously and if you're trying to qualify for quarterfinals or semifinals, I think you should. I don't like doing repeats, so I don't like redoing workouts. But still, if you redo on Saturday, that gives you enough time. If you feel like you need to redo on a Monday, typically you could. But what it really does is it sets you up for success on your first attempt. So I just don't like the idea of, a lot of competitive athletes will do it once at 80% knowing they're going to redo. I don't like that. So what I have done in the past and what I like to do is on Friday, I'll do some practice of the movements and very low volume, but maybe, for example, 2022's dumbbell snatch, box jump over wall walk workout. It was a 15-minute AMRAP, I think 3 wall walks, 12 box jump overs, 15 dumbbell snatches. And so maybe doing an EMOM or easy interval, practicing your transition from the wall walk to the box jump over, practicing your box jump over technique for a few reps, and then your transition to the dumbbell. Those small transitions can add up a lot over a 15-minute workout. Your technique on a box jump over can add up a lot on a 15-minute workout, and your technique on the dumbbell as well. So having an opportunity to practice the movements in low volume and low intensity, and then go and do the workout the next day, I think really sets people up to smash their first attempt and not have to redo, to give it their best effort and their best execution on the first run, and not say, oh man, I messed up here, I should have transitioned differently. Well, you didn't know that because you didn't practice it. And if it's your, if this is your Super Bowl, why not practice?
Will you give your athletes the things to work on, or like that interval thing on Friday? So you'll see the workout on Thursday. You'll either that night or first thing Friday morning come up with, hey, here's what I want you guys to do on Friday.
Yep. Yeah. Thursday night we'll come up with that, and it'll be basically what I would do essentially to practice for the workout. And I think it's quite a bit different than a lot of other people and how they do it, at least for a general compete track. It's not like I'm reinventing the wheel. So there are a lot of great games coaches that know how to do this and have their athletes do this. We just kind of probably make it a bit more accessible to everyone. And so we'll write that Thursday. We'll also do like a video. We'll also have done the workout on Thursday. So we'll have kind of a bit of an ability to speak on it for those people.
Yeah. So you both do the workout on Thursday?
Yeah, we've done it differently. The past 2 years, I did them 2 years ago on Thursday, like right when it was announced, because Taylor's doing Taylor versus the World.
That's
right.
He
would do those on Fridays. And then last year,
I did them Thursday.
Taylor did them Thursday. Yeah. I did it Thursday on the second week when it was thrusters.
Double unders with JR.
Yeah.
And then I did it.
And then you did it third week on Thursday as well. But at least one of us will do it on a Thursday. This year, I think we're planning to both just do it on Thursday.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone knows that feeling of the workout comes out on Thursday. You see it and you're like, and you are so confident, you know exactly how it's going to feel and how it's going to go and all this stuff. And then you start hearing scores. Your buddy tells you how it went, what happened in round 3. And, you watch the class do it on Friday. And by Saturday morning or Saturday evening, whenever you're planning on doing it, you have a way different idea and a more accurate idea of the workout. So like Taylor said, for people who are really putting, all their effort into that and want to qualify for the next stage, that can be really important.
Just knowing what's possible within your cohort.
Yeah.
Yeah, know what scores the beat and seeing the transitions and the strategies, like Clay says here, doing it on Thursday. You've got to really know yourself as an athlete and have a ton of experience and exposure to all the different combinations to know how to attack something that's a little bit different than what we've seen before. So
there's maybe, before you move on, there's maybe only 2 times that an open announcement athlete has set the time to beat and maintained it across the weekend.
I think it is 2.
One is Matt Fraser's 19.3. It was a thruster chest to bar workout.
19.5.
19.5. Sorry, 19.5.
I love the trivia here. That's so good.
33, 30, 27 thrusters chest to bar pull-ups. The reason he is able to do that is because it's Matt Fraser. Thruster chest to bar, like he's just unbeatable. Except for Colton now, but Colton didn't beat him back then. And then the other was Dallin, right? On that, didn't he set the time and no one beat it?
For 24-3?
It was the wall walk, power clean, power snatch, row.
And deadlift.
Yeah. I don't think anyone beat it. Or at least at the time, it was like, this will be the closest. So it was just those 2 instances. And that, I think, should speak volumes to people that just, it's really freaking hard to see it immediately, do it, and do it correctly or to the best of your ability.
Well, I mean, not to mention also as scores start to come out and people start combing through the rules. I remember that one year had the box jumps and I did the workout with box jumps and then come to find out they allowed people to step up. So I
Oh,
redid it with
God.
step ups,
Yeah.
and I increased my score by like 150 points.
Yeah. That was the clean and jerk pistol workout, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
I don't
that
know.
one.
All I remember, I like the trivia and your knowledge of all these specifics with the names of the workouts. I'm like, I can't. I black out on all of them. I've done every single workout, yet I remember about one of them, 3 of them.
That's interesting. Someone, a YouTuber, was like getting really upset that someone didn't remember the exact movements of a girl workout. Maybe Greg didn't remember the exact movements of a girl workout, and I just think, I don't know. Bryson feels the same way as that guy, but I'm just thinking in my head like, I don't think it matters that much. Greg probably has so much information in his brain that remembering particular movements of a particular named girl workout is low on the totem pole in terms of priority.
Especially with the open now that there's 15 years of workouts.
Right.
You know, it was like one thing when there had only been 5 years or 6 years or whatever it was.
And there's so many that are so similar to one another too, just like slight little changes that obviously completely change the workout. But when you're looking at it on paper, it's hard to remember all of them. So
I'm curious to know, what do you guys do at Charlotte? How do you guys approach it there? Is it Fridays? Is it
we'll do like a Friday Night Lights type of workout, and we'll do a coaches cup where each coach has a team of athletes participating in the open, and it's kind of like your aggregate points at the end of the 3-week open as to who wins. Last year I demolished everyone.
And that's also why on our general track, the open workout is written on Friday, because we just assume that most people want to do Friday Night Lights with their gym.
Yeah.
So what does the rest of the week look like then? I always find for myself at my affiliate, it's like trying to program to where it's like, hey, I'm not going to be doing the movements that we're going to be doing at the end of this week. I also don't want people to be crazy sore. I don't want them to empty the tank. Like, it's always just such a pain in the butt to kind of program. I'd be curious to hear how you guys navigate the rest of the week, and really, what do you want your athletes to feel or do leading up to either doing the workout full bore on Friday or Saturday?
I honestly think it's easy during the open because there are so many things, that just will not show up. They cannot show up. So an echo bike, for example, it will not show up. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that one's a stretch. They had thought about it back when I was on the CAC, and I was like,
it would be so hard to get, like, so many affiliates have so many different bikes.
There's also a Gen 1 Echo bike. There's also a Gen 1 that tracks calories way faster than the 2 and 3. But anyways, so like Echo bike or a sled push or a rope climb. They're not going to do a rope climb in the open. They might do it in quarterfinals for sure, but in the open, I don't think so. What are some others? Running outside. They're not going to run outside in the open. They're not going to do ball slams. They're not going to do anything with a sandbag, likely.
If you have skis and bikers.
Skier. But yeah, so there are a lot of movements that are not going to show up in the open. Probably not going to do kettlebell swings or kettlebell sumo deadlift high pulls or medicine
anything
ball.
hard to judge. Yeah, anything the standard.
Probably not going to do tall burpee box get overs. So there are just some movements I think that you can have fun with. And this is where, like, leading into the open for that kind of 2-month period, narrowing in on your workouts, I think is good, so that when you get there, you've practiced some of the things that you can be fairly certain will show up. But during the open, I try to avoid any movements for people that we know will show up. That way, when they come out on Friday, it's like, oh man, I'm still sore from this or whatever. You have a bit of competitive fire and anxiety while also knowing, hey, I did these a few weeks ago. It's not like I've never done these.
Right.
We do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, we recommend a full rest for people, even if they're hitting it Saturday. And then for the classic track or the 1-hour track, they'll hit it Friday following a full day of rest. And then they'll get some practice, some other training that will program around that open workout. And then they'll do it Saturday. We do like to allow Tuesday or Wednesday to be pretty high intensity, but also a high recoverability of like movement. So like an example would be, echo bike sprints. You can get a crazy amount of intensity on that, and your chances are will not be too sore at least 2 days away.
Do you guys still program heavy days during those weeks?
We still program lifting, yeah.
Tell me more,
for the class. Sorry, for the affiliate as well.
Yeah.
Man, I can't remember last year if we did.
Yeah, there was heavy days.
Okay.
But they're usually, I mean, obviously closer to the beginning of the week. There's
maybe the intention isn't to necessarily max out.
It's probably not 5x5 back squats or deadlifts that are going to really fry your
just completely crush.
Yeah, I think those weeks are ones where being able to get varied with the heavy days like Taylor was talking about and formats and stuff can help a lot, because if you do a 5-5, 3-3-3, 1-1-1-1 deadlift heavy day on Tuesday and you're just like smoked, not even sore, but you just don't have it on Friday, then so getting varied with the formats. But we'll still do heavy days at CrossFit Charlotte.
So the next thing I'm curious about is, like, as the Open's coming up and then the weeks of the Open, when you guys are coaching classes, how do you approach it with your athletes? You've got athletes that are probably all in on wanting to do the Open, super excited about it. You got some people that probably push back a little bit and maybe aren't very into it. You got the people that want to gain those skills and hopefully get their first muscle up or be able to do the double under workout RX. Is there anything that you guys do differently individually as coaches to try to just really accommodate all the different athletes and kind of their different goals as it relates to the Open?
I think just the main thing is education and just saying, hey, like sure, the Open can be fun. Sure, the Open can be stressful, but the reason we do the Open is so that kind of we have this general benchmark of where our fitness is at. And that's, I would say, to me, a large part of the observable, measurable, and repeatable component of CrossFit. And the reason I think it's great is because it's also, to a degree, unknown and unknowable. It's not like I have these 5 benchmarks that I know I'm going to retest in a year, and so I can just do those all year long and get better at them. We aren't really sure what the workouts are going to be, so we have to do CrossFit and try to get better across the 10 general physical skills and the 3 metabolic pathways, etc. So it's just a good way to, I think, test yourself and see if, hey, am I improving or am I not? And so that's the educational component, I think, that we talk about a little bit more closer to the Open.
Yeah, and I just use the whiteboard brief, especially as the Open's getting closer, to just encourage people to sign up. And like Taylor said, education on, hey, why this is testing fitness, why it's important to be fit and what that means. And also just making sure that anyone who's maybe newer and wasn't around for the Open last year, like sometimes you can hear, oh, I sign up and I'm on a leaderboard. Like I'm not like a competitor. That's not my thing. So just making sure people who might feel that way know that I get why you feel that way, but it's a little bit, this is different. Like this is a test for you. It's not competing against other people, really. You're competing against yourself and stacking up some years where you can see your general trend of fitness and continue to compete against yourself in years to come.
You also get held to a higher level of accountability and a bit of a higher standard with the judge watching everything. And I think it's also important to talk about the intensity that you go to when everyone's cheering you on and there's something on the line. So speaking on both of those things as well is pretty important, I think, and we do that as well.
It's so funny, to Bryson, to your point of the people that are like, I don't really care about the leaderboard. It doesn't matter to me. They don't want to do it. And then you get them to sign up. And just because they're on the leaderboard, it matters all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like the people that aren't competitive and don't care, they all of a sudden care and they're showing back up to redo a workout. It's always so funny. So if you can convince them to actually do it, to your guys' point, you typically get significantly more out of them, even though nobody's looking their name up on the leaderboard or any of that, right?
For some people who might need the clarification that, hey, this isn't like a competition like that. Like this is for you. There's other people who can lean into the, oh, last year they were 100 spots ahead of me. I'm going to crush them. Like if that's going to get you more intensity and get you a more accurate representation of your fitness in the Open, lean into it being a competition, lean into trying to beat your buddy, lean into trying to have the best score in the gym, whatever it is. So there's not like a right or wrong way to do it. I would just say the people who maybe need a little bit of clarification are pretty important to make sure they know that hey, we're still here for you on Friday. Like all the coaches are here for everyone here. It's not just for the guys who RX the workout every day or whatever.
It's also, you could consider it a charitable contribution this year too, and last, because now when you do the open, your money goes to the games, the part-time athletes and the hobbyists who compete at the CrossFit Games. Your money goes towards their yearly salary. So if you're feeling generous and you want these guys to live a little higher on the hog than maybe $60K a year, just sign up for the open.
There we go. I like that push.
Have you all already started implementing that into some whiteboard briefs on just a daily, or not yet?
I have not mentioned it this year yet, but this is a good time to start.
Yeah, I haven't either at the class. I have in terms of Sentinel and saying, hey, you guys should be signing up. We also were initially planning on doing a competition versus Hiller and HillerFit. We were going to take Sentinel's top 100 finishers versus his. I don't know if that's still going down or not. We'll have to see.
I think it should.
Awesome.
I vote yes.
I think that'd be great.
I mean, we would destroy them. It wouldn't even be close, but it'd be good PR for Hiller.
You heard it here.
Good content anyways. I'm curious to know, as coaches, you guys, obviously when you're in the affiliate, you're working to scale people, making sure that they're hitting the stimulus. When it comes to the open workouts, is there any more wiggle room for pushing people to do the RX version of the workout than you normally would on like a regular given week? Like, how do you guys approach allowing people to do that, pushing people to do that? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think that's one of the larger differences, I think, between open workouts and just training year round is, when you're training, your goal is to get the correct stimulus and to get the most adaptation out of your workout. I think the open is a test, and that's how I kind of talk to people about it. Hey, you're testing yourself at the prescribed weights if you can safely perform them. So let's say the workout is 5 rounds for time of dumbbell snatches and burpees with a 10-minute cap, and the 50-pound dumbbell is really heavy for you, but you can do it safely. You're going to get capped. That's fine. But yeah, do the workout as prescribed, and then next year, see how many more reps you can get. Yeah.
Yeah, and the open is... Dave's not writing the open workouts wondering, hey, how can I make sure the biggest group gets the same stimulus as possible? Like 19.5 feels a lot different for Matt Frazier than it does for me when I'm doing doubles on chest to bar and looking at my bloody hands in between sets and like just walking around, chalking up, and he's going unbroken. Like, and at that point, yeah, I should still be doing the RX weight. And because I can get through that, it's an AMRAP for me. It's a different workout. It's not a sprint like it is for him. But like Taylor said, it's a test. There's a time for training. And that's also another thing to the last thing we were talking about. That's another thing I'll talk about at the whiteboard is, hey, this is the test. It's not training necessarily. You might get a really good training stimulus out of it, depending on who you are and what the workout is. But this is the time for testing. And if the workout starts with 30 double unders and it's a 10-minute AMRAP and you spend the whole 10 minutes just trying to get one at a time and you get 3, cool. Now, next year when the double under workout shows up, your goal is to get 4. So that's how I feel about it.
I love it. It's
love it. Yeah.
I
just think it's important. It's important to communicate that to our athletes, right? And to make sure that they understand. For that exact reason, like on a regular workout on a Wednesday in June, if there's double unders in the workout and it's 10 minutes, am I going to let someone just spend 10 minutes just trying to get a double under versus figuring something else out for them to meet the stimulus the way I want? No, it's completely different. So just making sure we're communicating that to our athletes so they understand it. It can be a fun, exciting challenge for them that they're not normally, I would say allowed, but we don't normally push them to do. It's just a little bit different. So,
yeah.
It's like letting you keep them caged up all year long. You finally let them out of the cage and let them do their thing.
Yeah. You've been bugging me to do this all year and I've been saying no, and now is your chance. Let's go.
Yeah, here we go. And that's how you get a lot of the special moments out of the open too, where people are setting PRs with their lifts or getting the first bar muscle up or chest to bar pull up or any of that kind of stuff, which is always a lot of fun with this thing. So as you guys make it through, you program for the open, you get people prepared. Now that there's quarterfinals that are coming back, what's what's the process there? And is it 10% or 25% again this year? I think it's 25, right?
Yeah,
25. So there will be a good number of people doing that. So what will you guys do with your programming to cater towards that? Will you kind of take the same approach that you have to the Open, or is this just a different thing and you're not as
at that point in time, the two tracks will diverge a little bit. The compete track will continue to train and gear themselves up toward quarterfinals and then again toward semifinals, whereas the classic track will then kind of enter a pretty varied, like I would say we almost get more toward like a field sport type of, I don't know, we just do a lot more fun things, maybe not field sport specifically, but like an example would be like riding a bicycle in workouts, getting outside quite a bit more, especially as things warm up. So we'll do that a little bit. And then the 60 track will get into like their first 4 or 5 week progression following the Open. And that'll be super varied as well. And it'll typically be really focused on tempo, long pauses, lighter weights, longer holds, better positions type stuff. And then each week, rather than repeating the same movement variation, it'll be like a same movement pattern. So some form of squat, for example, on a Monday, and maybe week 1, it's a Zercher squat. And then week 2, it's an overhead squat or a single arm dumbbell over, it's very different, but it'll be like a skill/strength piece. And then on the next day, it might be some sort of hinge movement pattern. So maybe it's a sumo deadlift, and then maybe it's a rack pull. That will be how 60 looks, while compete continues to train their strength a bit more varied and a bit more geared towards competition style formats. An example would be like heavy Isabel, stuff like that. So like maybe heavy snatch intervals, or, a 4 or 5 rep max, front squat, or things that are, front squat waves or whatever. And those won't repeat week to week. They'll just still stay pretty different because you have no idea what'll show up in quarterfinals. They'll continue to train that way after quarterfinals and into semifinals. And then we'll take them back and they'll kind of converge back together, and we'll sweep compete back into the general direction that 60 is going, or the classic track is going.
Since there will be a big number, like a 25% is a pretty big number, I would assume that you guys will have a good portion of people in your program that qualify for quarterfinals. Will you push them towards the compete side of things during that? You obviously push everybody towards the Open. Do you want people to keep competing as much as they possibly can? Or is it like, hey, the Open's the annual test, and then let's just have fun with the training the rest of the time? Or do we want to keep challenging ourselves with competing?
I don't push people toward quarterfinals, but I think if people want to do it, they should, and they shouldn't be scared of it. And I think, especially now that we're reintroducing quarterfinals after last year, it's safer to say that these quarterfinal workouts won't be GHD sit-ups and dual 70 dumbbell overhead walking lunges. So like and maybe it will be, and if it is, I will criticize heavily because, hey, that's not a workout for the top 25%. But I'll encourage people that want to do it. And if it's somebody who would typically follow the classic track and they want to do quarterfinals, I would say, hey, just do the compete weightlifting or strength session that is geared more toward quarterfinal prep, and either do the classic workout paired with it or pick one of the compete workouts. As we typically have 4 pieces a day on compete. They're not all workouts. One's typically more strength or skill focused. There's typically 2 workouts, and then there's like an accessory session. Whereas the classic track is just 1 or 2. So sometimes a strength skill focus and a workout, sometimes just a workout, sometimes just a strength and skill focus. So those people, if they were to just go from classic to compete and try to do all of it, they would get destroyed.
Right.
And so our recommendation is definitely don't do that, but maybe pick the compete strength and skill and one of the workouts. And we offer such a large degree and such like a specific scaling note section that they have no problem just kind of paring things down to meet them where they're at. And so that's what we would recommend.
Yeah, because I would say, there's never been like an exact number, but we've talked about this a couple of times. I would say the compete track is generally geared towards someone who, when quarterfinals was top 10%.
Yeah.
That was like where you were at.
If you're top 10%, you can probably do most of compete.
Yeah. And so now when you open quarterfinals to the top 25%, like you said, there's going to be a lot of people who just do the classic track who qualify for quarterfinals and who want to approach it like the same way that they approach the open. Like, hey, my training is gearing me to be as prepared as possible for this test. So yeah, like Taylor said, we'll just give them the resources and any extra coaching or tips to how to modify the compete track to continue working towards that.
I gotta pee.
All right.
That was so abrupt.
I saw him taking his mic off. I was like, I wonder what's going on.
About it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing you didn't forget to take the mic off.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for leaving that here, not taking it with you.
For sure.
Bryson, so we're a month away from the Open. You've obviously got your game plan with what you guys are doing at Sentinel. For any athletes or actually any coaches out there, what would you recommend coaches to do over the next month? Obviously, we want to talk up the importance of the Open as they're leading up to it a month from now. But anything else that you think that coaches should be doing or thinking about as they're coaching their classes over the next 4 weeks, knowing that the Open's on the horizon?
Yeah, I really think in a lot of gyms, the whiteboard brief is underutilized for education about CrossFit as a whole and not just the workout we're doing today. We're really lucky, and I think our members are really lucky that we have, at Andy Hendel's gym. So he's always, using the first couple minutes of his whiteboard brief to talk about something from the nutrition handbook or the level 1 handbook and things like that. So I do think that a lot of coaches start pushing people towards the Open as it gets closer, but in a lot of gyms, people don't know what fitness is. People think it's a subjective term where it's like, hey, no, we've defined this. And if you've never told your members how we've defined this, they're not going to understand the importance of the Open being a test. And I think in CrossFit Charlotte, that's something we do pretty well. And a lot of our coaches have had those talks at the whiteboard all year. So it's easy to get across to them why the Open's important and why testing that is important. But if you've never talked about what is fitness and what is CrossFit, even just a little bit, obviously you don't go through the whole lecture, you don't have time for that in the hour, but even just a little bit, or use a heavy day to talk about it a little bit in between sets, or when someone asks you questions, don't be afraid to, relay some of your knowledge about that stuff, because then I think it's a lot easier pill to swallow signing up for the Open and competing and knowing why that's important. If you understand what fitness is, why CrossFit is the best way to improve it, the fact that it's not subjective and there is a way to measure it. So teaching people that kind of stuff, I think, makes the push towards the Open a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think diving in and like really making sure people are educated is huge, and finding whiteboard brief, cool down time. I think all of that stuff is great. Do you guys ever do any additional like lunch and learns or lectures or anything like that where coach will chat any of his level 1 lectures, or you guys will cover anything nutrition or fitness beyond whiteboard brief? Do you guys do anything?
Yeah, he has. He's done a few of those.
Yeah, he's done the nutrition lecture, maybe some other ones too.
Yeah. And sometimes we bake it into a foundations or a fundamentals if someone is going through that.
Yeah. I would also say one thing I would add to my previous answer is talking about movement standards when you're talking about how fitness is measurable makes it a lot easier for people to understand, hey, if Andy no reps me, it's not because Andy's mad at me. It's because we're trying to measure something. And if we're not doing the same thing every time, you can't measure it. So kind of talking about that when you're talking about fitness being objective and there's a way to measure it makes it a lot easier for people to understand. And then they're like, oh, okay, so I do actually have to think about this and maybe slow down a little bit when I'm doing my air squats next time, even if it's not in the Open anymore, just in a training workout 6 months later.
I think to your point, Andy could also be mad at you though.
Very fair.
He'll let you know. Yeah, I agree with that. I think to your point, like having somebody there to judge you and count your reps and hold the standard and making sure that you're hitting depth and moving through that full range of motion. I think there's an opportunity leading up to the Open to intentionally program workouts where you do it in 2 heats and you partner people up and have one person like count reps or judge, just so you can prep that and get ready for it.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever done that? At your guys affiliated?
I did it. I actually did do that last year once, and it wasn't because of the open, but I kind of I had too many people in a class for the amount of rowers we had, and I was like, the open's coming up anyway. Like they're gonna have to figure it out. So that's how I decided to make it work that day, where I normally probably wouldn't have thought about that.
I think it also works if you have a super short workout. You know, it's like
yeah,
5 to 7 minute workout. It's a great way to just get some camaraderie. But then, like Todd said, because I think for personally, what will happen at my affiliate is you have all the people that they're not competitive. They're just there, you know, to maintain their fitness, which if we ask them, well, what does that mean? They're not going to have that objective definition. They just want to like, you know, be healthy and, you know, all the things, right?
They want to tone up. That's
what I mean,
like
what the vast majority of a lot of people coming in the gyms want to do, right? And for the open, the second that there's going to be a judge there, not that they care because they're going to be shaving reps or they're trying to skirt range of motion. It's just that stress of having someone with a clipboard and a piece of paper that is so intimidating to people, and it really turns people off. So that's something that we have to manage each year.
It's so it's also such bullshit to me that it turns people off. Like, oh no, personal accountability and responsibility. I don't want any bit of that. What? And hey, we have the same issue. Like, what do you mean it turns you off? Oh, being and not even an adult, a human being that can take accountability of your own actions and what you're actually doing. So I mean, I love that aspect of it. There are always going to be a handful of people that, look, we have them at our affiliate. I can yell at them 5 times in a workout after briefing the specific movement standard and why it's important in the white brief. Stand all the way up on your box jump. Open your hips. Open your hips. Hey, open your hips. And they just ignore me the whole time. Whatever. You know, if you decide to do the open, when it comes out, I will judge you.
Yeah. And
we will meet again.
I 100% agree that there's always going to be people like that. But I do think talking about why we measure things and why there's movement standards instantly like cuts that group in half, maybe even more, because then once people know it's important and know there's a reason, then they do want to take personal accountability. They showed up to a CrossFit gym. Like you already have some personal accountability. Right. So I think once people know why and know that and can understand it's important, that group is cut in half or more. But yeah, there's always going to be people like that.
It's also like to me, that's one of the like best things about CrossFit is it teaches you discipline. It teaches you personal accountability and responsibility and how to just take ownership of the way you do things, why you're doing something, doing it the right way, that bleeds over into the rest of your life. I think we take for granted how effective physical training can be at reinforcing I would say great habits in other aspects of our lives, you know, being honest with the whiteboard, being honest with my reps, just like all of these little things. Physical training is probably the most controllable and repeatable way to train all of those habits. So I think that's an underrated reason for why CrossFit is amazing and why the Open's amazing. It's good practice at being held accountable.
Well, it goes to say too, I was just going to say really quick, Todd, that if we are prioritizing range of motion and effort and, you know, we're celebrating things like, oh my gosh, you used a green band last time and this time you used a lighter band. That's freaking awesome. And we're not only prioritizing and celebrating the people that are doing it RX and going the fastest, then it creates an environment where people aren't as scared to get judged, to do it, to sign up, to do it the way that we want them to do it, because they don't feel that judgment. Like if they don't go the fastest, or, you know, you're looking over and you're seeing someone just got through that whole workout. They just got 6 rounds and I'm still here working on getting 1 double under. And, you know, we want to make sure that we're accounting for all of the different levels and celebrating all different types of victories. And if we're continuing to do that all year long, not just at the Open, then that just helps lay that stage for everybody to feel like, okay, my victory is going to look a little different than that person's. And I'm not going to feel worried about it like maybe, you know, a lot of people do.
And CrossFit made a point of like, if if movement standards only show up in the open, meaning all of a sudden you're telling people they're not low enough in their squats or that their arms aren't locked out, then if you've not heard that before, we've got issues, right? It's like that should be happening all year long. And Taylor, to your point, if you're telling somebody to stand up on the box every time and you're telling them to get lower in their squat, and that's happening by all of your coaches in every class, even if they don't listen to you on that day, over time, that slow drip of repeatedly being told to do something, it's going to work and they're going to get better and they're going to know. Like I've never seen somebody that literally for, 3 years in a row gets told to do something they literally won't by every single coach. It only happens if every other coach lets them slide and then you're the one that tells them to stand all the way up and they don't see you every single day. Well, then maybe they won't. But if we consistently do that, and that's the standard that's held at your gym by all of your coaches, and if we know and have the tools as coaches to get them in position so they can hit those positions, like oftentimes, most of the time from my experience, athletes that don't squat low enough, it's because their stance isn't correct or they're not pushing their knees out hard enough. If you got coaches that are equipped to make those adjustments, meeting the standard is going to be something that's consistent. And then when the open shows up, there's no misses, and they're like, it isn't a shock when somebody tells them to get low enough or hit the target or do any of that kind of stuff. So
I love being the mean coach.
Starts the conversation with why other coaches let them get away. There we go.
I always joke about being the mean coach. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Like, I really have that bad of a reputation. You're afraid to come take my class, and just turn it into a big joke. And
someone
standards.
commented, why, or do you tell them why it's important to get full range of motion outside of just the standard? The conversation kind of went that way just because we were talking about the open, and around the open, it does become like, hey, the standards and we're measuring, and because this is a test, blah, blah, blah. But throughout the year, I think it is really important to talk about full range of motion like that, and talking about life outside of the gym. An example that I've used before is like when we're doing a squat and we're talking about full range of motion, I'm like, hey, if you guys are outside and you have to, for whatever reason, you have to even just walk up a hill and the hill's really steep, the grade of the hill isn't going to change because you don't train that range of motion. Like your hip can't open that much and you can't get your knee that high. Like all these things are important, and we want to train all points of that range of motion so that you're strong in every degree of hip flexion and knee flexion and ankle flexion, your arms overhead, things like that. Because if you ever get forced in that position, or even if it's not forceful, even if you just want to be in that position, you want to have been there before and be as strong there as you are in a quarter squat.
I mean, and also like imagine like you had to take a shit and the toilet's low. Are you just going to hover over it and hope you hit the hole?
That too.
Get it all over your pants? Come on, man.
Unfortunately, nowadays they're just making the toilets that are higher and higher. That you're just lean against it. You don't even have to squat down, bend your knees at all. You just lean back and take care of it.
I think those are called urinals.
Maybe did you know that?
Yeah, you should maybe let somebody know.
Todd's been ruining the men's restrooms.
I thought it was weird that like everybody would come in and look at me weird when I'm sitting there and people are walking in saying what's up. But
you're like, my legs are sore from back squat day yesterday. Leave me alone.
I've got an open workout coming up tomorrow. I don't want to get sore from this.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool guys. As always, this is great chatting with you. One thing we wanted to make mention is that the tickets for Affiliate Con are actually live, and you guys will be back there again next year. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'd love to be back.
Oh, fantastic.
Hell yeah.
You should let us speak on toilets or something.
That'd be great.
Line up urinals on the stage and let you guys take care of that.
Our keynote talk on toilet selection.
Toilet height.
Yeah. More of a push press than a squat. That's right. Just a slight bend of the knees. That's what we need. No full depth there.
Keep that torso nice and upright.
Yeah, that's what we need. Another thing that we want to make mention is the Knowledge Pro. You guys are coaches out there. You guys want to get better at your coaching. You're looking for example classes. You're looking for progressions. You're looking for scaling options. You're looking for just anything and everything coaching wise. Also, if you're looking for feedback in your coaching, the Knowledge Pro is the place for that. And in fact, you guys are going to be seeing more of Kristin and I and Taylor and Bryson because we will be doing some class reviews and some coach feedback and that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. We're excited for it. But beyond that, guys, where they go to find more about Sentinel training and about you guys?
You can go to our website, trainsentinel.com, and we have all the links to kind of everything that we offer. The main thing is just our general program, and it's the only online program probably for under, I would say, maybe even under $100 or under $150 or maybe even under $200, where we like review everyone's videos if they send it in to get technique and feedback. So we have three
awesome.
level 3s that do that. And yeah, so try us out.
And it's well under $200.
Yeah.
It's $30 a month. So
Yeah.
And that's crazy. I'll tell you right now, if you're just following programming on your own and you're not getting any eyes on you and feedback on your movement patterns, you're going to hit a plateau. There's only so far to go. So if you're taking online or following online programming, you need some feedback. So Sentinel's the place to go, man. So as always, guys, this was a pleasure. Looking forward to working with you more in the future. So appreciate it. And we will see you next time.
Good luck in the open.
thank you guys.
Yep.
Thank you for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. Now, if you're a coach who wants to coach more effectively, impact your members, and advance your career, then the Knowledge Pro is the next step. Inside, you'll get hundreds of coaching videos, weekly calls with level 4 coaches, and direct feedback on your coaching. From homework reviews to full class breakdowns, we do it all. This is the best way to grow as a coach and take your skills to the next level. Now, you can join the Knowledge Pro at besthouroftheirday.com/the-knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Now keep coaching, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.